What up, y'all? What up, man? Another day, another tether. Another day, another tether, man. Yesterday we talked about Jasmine Crockett. Now we on a familiar tether. Y'all know her. Y'all should know her well by now with the thorough media expose that she received during the election. You know what they say? There's no hotter sunshine than fame. Jermaine Taylor, what up, man? Brother Zeke, what up? Stephen, what up? Science guy, what up, man? We're gonna talk about something that's actually kind of crazy, man. Cam, what up, man? I always took it for granted, right? Well, yeah, we gonna get into it. I'm gonna let a few of y'all get in here. I was kind of surprised to find this out because it wasn't much reporting on this during the campaign, ironically. You would have thought that this would have been more talked about. Shells, what up, man? Doug Dissonant, what up, man? Yeah, I thought that this would have been something more talked about. Oh yeah, they talked about it on Tucker Carlson. Um, Tan Byron Donald Baum is from Panama and his dad is from Jamaica. Both sides, man. Hey, I predict. You know what? I think the Democrats go hold on to the tellers today, today, today folly. But hopefully, the Republican Party is more reactive and much more receptive in like kind of leaning away with funding and shit from teller candidates. Like that big jaw bitch Winsome Spears, you know, Miss Miss $5 and a dream. If you want to believe that. Tech boy, what up? What up, man? Let a few more people get in here before we start to distant Rose. What up, man? Oh shit, Lion. What up, dog? Glad you in here. A couple more people get in here, man. You know, I can't have the threshold that high because like the Nigerian pony says, there ain't that many people watching me. That's his name now, the Nigerian pony. A couple more people get in here. All right, cool. So I was really surprised to get sent this article. Oh, hey, trust me, I'm on that Friday. You ain't even got to worry. Friday, I'm on that. Friday, yes, we definitely gonna talk about that. But now that the football season has come to an end, I'm gonna switch my scheduling up. You know, Friday probably gonna be a 5:30 show and then a prime time show, right? Friday we're gonna have a 5:15 show and a prime time show, probably maybe 7:30, 7:45, some shit like that. KC writes, did you see that tether Anton said he told Corey that he sucked dick for black people, even if he was not black? Yeah, man. Friday, we definitely got to talk about that. We definitely got to talk about that. Definitely got to talk about that Friday. We got to talk about the Anton Daniels shit, and then I'm raising the roast bounty. I got to raise the roast bounty, man, because a couple of y'all already send me money, but it's more people demanding the roast bounty. Right? I forgot his name, but I'm gonna look it up. Yeah, Anton Daniels is terrified of white man, and Corey ain't really outright disrespect him like that. He just talked about his political positions, right? And no offense to any motherfucker from Detroit, no offense, man, but most of the inner city Detroit is abandoned. We've seen the pictures, we've seen the National Geographic documentaries, we've seen the news reports, we've even seen ASPCA Detroit when they was going in these burnt out, fucked up ass neighborhoods where it might be a whole block, but it's only one house is occupied, and they come in there and this one person got like 80 dogs living in that motherfucker, and the floor is covered with dog shit. We seen all of this shit, so we know that Detroit is mostly abandoned. So some of these niggas from Detroit that be acting tough, like, where is y'all really claiming? Is y'all in the suburbs and shit? And y'all know it is actually wealthy black suburbs in the Detroit area. So it'd be niggas from places like that, and but then you try to act tough and shit, like, and then you talking to a nigga that's really from the hood, nigga. You Corey Holcomb was this close to knocking that nigga out. He don't even know. Corey Holcomb don't even see. He ain't been around. I could tell that Anton Daniels ain't been around like niggas from different areas. And based off of me knowing Chicago niggas, no, he was this close to getting his ass whooped. This close. And the crazy part is this bitch ass nigga Anton brought security with him, and Corey Holcomb got right up literally in this nigga's face. Literally in this nigga's face. Wait, hold on. All right, I'm finna come over there after I do this to get my charge. I gotta get my charge. All right. That was Dennis, nigga, calling me instead of watching the live, nigga. But he don't know how close he came to getting his ass whooped. For real? You still own it, Distant Rose? Distant Rose, right? Shit, I've even bought a burned down Detroit house for $1 when I was high once. Hey, if you still got it, I'll buy it from you. For way more than $1, though, so you You can say you made good on your investment. I'll buy from you. Hell yeah, Corey was Anton's Huckleberry. He was shook. Now I don't know how people was talking about there you go, thanks, Tech Boy. There you go, KC. There you go. I want to share all my other streaming places in my email address, but I don't know who is snitching, who not, man. I don't know who is snitching, who not. Hey, yup, and Corey called that shit right out. He ain't never got shit to say about white men. He ain't never got shit to say about white men, Tan. Never. King, that's right. That's how you can really tell he a tether. Never talk shit about white boys. Boulele, boulele, boulele. Yeah, white man. Ain't never got shit to say about. Never got shit to say about. Now, me, myself, I criticize basically everybody equally. I do. Criticize black men for being simps. Criticize black women for being fucking mammies. I criticize liberal white women for being narcissistic, navel gazing hypocrites that have suicidal empathy because they've replaced political causes with child and family. And I criticize white men for being stalkers, simps, and motherfucking serial killers. I talk shit about everybody equally, basically. But he don't never have shit to say. Never have shit to say about white men. Right? He ain't never got shit to say about Chop 'em Up Chad. It's real strange. It's real strange. But right now, we're about to talk about some shit, man. Yeah, I was kind of shocked to find this out. Now, as we get closer, he said, whoa. Anton said that slavery was capitalism. That's how you know that nigga agent. That's how you know that nigga agent. That's how you know he an agent. No, slavery was not capitalism. Slavery was not capitalism. Because in capitalism, people who engage in production are paid wages for their labor. No, slavery is slavery. Can slavery attenuate capitalism? Can it serve capitalism? Possibly. But as you saw with the Civil War, to use slaves to serve capitalism is a fool's errand. You follow me? The reason that the Civil War occurred is because Southern slave holders. No, it's no derailing. It's no derailing because this actually is going to neatly dovetail into what we came here to talk about. One of the major provocations was basically the casus belli for the Civil War was the fact that Southern slave owners were taxed as individual farmers. Yet, every year, the United States was increasing military expenditures in order to build forts to protect Southern cities from raids from free blacks. See, understand this. This is one thing I always try to elucidate so-called black people on in this United States, right? When you walk outside and white people act scared of you, that's epigenetic. They not scared of you because of the crime in Chicago. They not scared of you because they watch Juice or Menace to Society. No, no. They scared of you because that's epigenetic. That's an epigenetic fear. They afraid of you because your ancestors used to creep out of the forests and swamps with muskets and then musket ball pistols and hatchets and axes and sabers and kill white people and take whatever valuable belongings they had and then run right back into the swamp. That fear is epigenetic. That's why they cross the street when they see you sometimes. That's why they clutch their purse and shit when they see you sometimes. That ain't racist. It's partially racism, but mostly it's fucking terror because your ancestors used to terrify them. And so because military expenditures were increased every year, we didn't have an IRS back then. We didn't have an income tax back then. The United States government raised money through tariffs, taxes on liquor and firearms, and the corporate tax. Those were the three ways that the United States government raised revenue for itself. So, in order to fund these military expenditures, the United States government increased the corporate tax. This was protested. This was protested by Northern industrialists, and they had lobbyists back then too. So because the Northern industrialists, they didn't like the increased corporate tax, they paid their lobbyists. Their lobbyists went to congressmen, to people in representatives in the Senate, and they protested about the shit too because they didn't want, and they actually had a skin in the game, so to speak, because remember when you increase corporate taxes, that causes contraction, not growth. And so if these companies were being taxed at these heavy rates, then they will have no choice pretty soon but to start laying people off, closing locations, shit like that, and it will mean less jobs for their constituents, which is that's never the situation that you want to be in, especially as a U.S. representative in a case like that where you are not going to DC to fight for your constituents to keep them prosperous, right? And the Northern industrialists got their lobbyists to induce the congressman and the Senate to try to argue for a tax on slaveholders. Slaveholders, of course, said that no, this is unconstitutional because it's a bill of attainder. And they were correct. They were legally and constitutionally correct. That is, to tax slaveholders extra would indeed be a bill of attainder. It will go against the Bill of Attainder clause of the U.S. Constitution. Now, the Bill of Attainder clause of the U.S. Constitution, in layman's terms, means that it is unconstitutional for you to create any tax that or any law that penalizes one narrow group of people. One narrow group of people. Right? It's kind of a precursor to Section 2 of the 14th Amendment. You want to look at it like that. And so because So then after that, the northern industrialists took the tactic of, okay, if we can't place a tax on slavery, as the United States begins to expand with new territories coming into the Union all the time, we are going to do what we can to limit the spread of slavery. We are going to isolate these states with this backward system operating, and eventually, hopefully, it'll go away. Now, some of those same industrialists, trust me, they were funding the Underground Railroad because they had a vested financial interest in seeing slavery crushed. Because I can't imagine how angry I would be if I had my corporate tax rate climb up by 3% or 5% every year just to spend on military to guard an institution that I'm not benefiting from. Right? So there is an example of slavery serving capitalism, but it was in the end so counterproductive that it led to a civil war. And so eventually what happened as the United States ratcheted down politically on southern slaveholders, well, the South wanted to secede from the Union. And since secession is constitutionally invalid and illegal, there began a civil war. But the root of it was military. It was the need to raise the corporate sales tax, or the corporate, I'm sorry, not sales tax, but the corporate tax rate based upon the need for internal security because of many slave rebellions. So in one way, you could say that the Civil War was the final slave rebellion. So you can't say that, oh, that's just capitalism, when capitalism finds efficient ways to do things. That's slavery was woefully inefficient. Woefully inefficient. When you think about the probably trillions or quadrillions of US dollars that were spent over multiple centuries trying to quell slave insurrections, keeping armies in the field, keeping police forces, slave patrols out there, property destroyed, lives lost, property destroyed in the Civil War, military expenditures during the Civil War, the occupying armies and Reconstruction. You're talking about money into the quadrillions of dollars, money that could have led to a more prosperous and stronger nation. So, no, slavery is not capitalism, because capitalism finds more logical ways to do things. So yeah, that's a very fucking short-sighted and poor argument by Anton Daniels dumbass. So let us talk about another question of labor now that we've taken care of slavery. And again, I was surprised to find this out. So as we move into 2026 and we understand that the midterms are coming up later this year, and I also understand that it's quite possible that Kamala Harris might be running again, just wanted to come with a quick refresher about her policies, just in case people forgot. Now, I was very surprised to find out. I had heard, a lot of breathless reporting on Fox News saying that Kamala Harris's father was like a Marxist economics professor, right? I didn't just hear that. I heard that on a lot of different news venues, and so they were saying that they were somehow estranged and that they hadn't spoken in years, right? that they hadn't spoken in years. And so I'm like, well, if he's a Marxist and she certainly acts like a communist a lot of times, then what the hell is they issue? I heard he took issue with her lying about smoking weed or pretending like she was black. He didn't seem to be a fan of that shit. But I figured it had to be something deeper. And then lo and behold, I find this out. It's a kind of an old New York Times article, but I never knew this. They never wrote about this in our papers here in Chicago. Well, Kamala Harris's Marxist dad issued warning against mass immigration, quote, serious problems for blacks, end quote. There's at least one Harris who doesn't believe in open borders. Donald Harris, an emeritus professor at Stanford University, issued a warning against mass immigration of low-skilled workers in a 1988 treatise he co-authored titled Black Economic Progress: An Agenda for the 1990s. Harris, now 86, was unequivocal at the time. Quote, trends in international trade have moved against U.S. workers, he wrote. U.S. immigration laws have been modified in ways that influx low-skilled workers who compete with native-born youths and low-skilled adult workers for low-skilled jobs. Right? Now, this is what I was talking about when I was lamenting the fact the other day that like young kids, it's hard for them to get like White Castle jobs and McDonald's jobs and Burger King jobs because it's adult Mexicans that work in there. Right? I talked about this. Now, mind you, when he wrote this, this is when Reagan had rolled out blanket amnesty to illegal aliens, and he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing when he did it. Even though Ronald Reagan was was a Republican, never forget that he started out as a Democrat, and to me, he governed as a Democrat. He had all of the Reagan's administration, which is I don't know why the people over at Fox News constantly dick ride him, but Reagan's administration had all of the markers of a Democratic administration, except his military spending. That's the only thing that he did that a Republican would do. Everything else, Democrat shit. Foreign policy skullduggery, like with the Iran Contra shit, Democrat shit. Importation of drugs to fund and facilitate illegal operations and increase the CIA black site slush fund, Democrat shit. The shift has been a serious problem for blacks who constitute a high proportion of the low-skilled adult workers, according to the book. Harris, a Marxist economist, lives just 2 miles away from his daughter in Washington, D.C., but the two rarely speak. That's crazy. The chilly relations stretch back to Harris's divorce from Kamala's mother in 1972 and his losing a bitter custody battle. The book, published just 2 years after the 1986 immigrant amnesty law signed by then President Reagan, is typical of far left thinking on immigration. Right? Vermont Senator Sanders was once a and blasted open borders as a Koch brothers proposal. See, this is what I be talking about right here. This is what I'll be talking about right here. This immigration shit has been a political football for the longest, right? For all you younger people in here, what if I told y'all that the Democrats, the left, used to be the ones that was protectionist and criticized any type of immigration? They didn't want immigration, period. Right? They was the ones that first that wanted to build a border wall, a border fence. Right? But the Republicans, in kind of their own version of wanting laissez-faire economics, was like, oh, well, if we can get people to do the same unskilled labor for cheaper, then we'll do it. Right? And so this is what I have to frequently remind people, you know, with all of these bleeding heart stances about immigration, like, especially when I see the older Democrats doing it. Because I be like, wait a minute. How long you been a Democrat? Are you been a Democrat since your 20s? So what was you saying when Obama was deporting all of these people? Because Obama deported more presidents, more anybody, more people than any U.S. president. Obama deported more people than any U.S. president, right? Trump ain't even fucking close. Even when you add in the self-deportations, Trump ain't even got close to what Obama did. Right? So it was seen by the Obama administration and subsequent previous Democratic administrations as a way to defund the Republican Party, because those businesses that those illegal immigrants was working for was primarily Republican donors. Right? And so then they shifted their policy and they shifted their opinions on a dime in 2020 once they realized that this would be the only way that they could stop the fucking population bleeding from blue states. It will make everybody in America poorer, Sanders told lefty columnist Ezra Klein in 2015. Vice President Harris has supported granting illegal aliens pathways to citizenship and continues to make the idea a pillar of her 2024 presidential race. The U.S. Citizenship Act of 2021, which the Biden-Harris administration introduced on their first day in office, would have granted legal status to millions of illegal aliens currently living in the United States. The influx of illegal immigrants and thus low-skilled labor advocated by Harris-Walz exacerbates inequalities by driving down wages and creating competition among those already marginalized, particularly Black Americans, Black GOP consultant Shermichael Singleton told the Post. The welfare of native-born citizens, especially those who have historically faced injustices like Black Americans, must come first. The problem with illegal immigration isn't merely economic but existential. The Harris campaign and Professor Harris did not respond to a request for a comment from the Post. Yeah, it's deliberate. Of course it's deliberate, Saul. Did you really think that they just started it? But it shouldn't be a surprise, because if anybody here, if you follow politics, then you'll remember in 2020, I'm sorry, not in 2020, but in the wait a minute, yeah, 2020. In the 2020 primary season, they were telling you what they were going to do. They was telling y'all. Let me find some video right quick. They was telling y'all what the fuck they was going to do. They was telling y'all. They was telling y'all. 2020 Democratic primary. They was telling y'all what they was gonna do, man. That's why I couldn't understand. Once they stole, got in there and stole the shit, why people was surprised by this. Like they told you niggas what they was about to do. They told y'all.
There is widespread agreement on this stage on the need for immigration reform, a pathway to citizenship for undocumented immigrants, including Dreamers.
We've got a crisis on our hands, and it's not just a crisis of immigration, it's a crisis of cruelty and incompetence that has created a humanitarian disaster on our southern border. It is a stain on the United States of America. Americans want comprehensive immigration reform, and frankly, we've been talking about the same framework for my entire adult lifetime. Protections for Dreamers, making sure that we have a pathway to citizenship for the undocumented, cleaning up lawful immigration. We know what to do. We know that border security can be part of that package, and we can still be a nation of laws. The problem is we haven't had the will to get it done in Washington. And now we have a president who could fix it in a month because there is that bipartisan agreement. But he needs it to be a crisis rather than an achievement. That will end on my watch.
In my administration, after we have waived citizenship fees for green card holders, more than 9 million of our fellow Americans, freed Dreamers from any fear of deportation, and stopped criminally prosecuting families and children for seeking asylum and refuge.
See? You see? They are participating in a game of one-upsmanship of who can go the hardest for illegal aliens in favor of them over United States citizens. You see this shit? They was telling y'all what they were going to do. I've been telling y'all this. I've been telling y'all this. I know that a lot of what I say probably gets drowned out among the roasts and clapping back at other YouTubers. But when it comes to my political shit, this is something that I have been telling y'all. They was telling y'all what they was gonna do in the primary.
End for-profit detention in this country, and then assist those countries in Central America so that no family ever has to make that 2,000-mile journey, then
and y'all hit the cash app for this goddamn retroactive black pill I'm putting on y'all ass right now. I tried to tell y'all.
Expect that people who come here follow our laws, and we reserve the right to criminally prosecute them if they do not.
Congressman.
Right now, the criminalization statute is what gives Donald Trump the ability to take children away from their parents.
Even though Obama was just doing the same thing, literally right before Trump was in office. All of them pictures with the kids wrapped with the fucking foil blankets on in the fucking detention bullpens, those pictures were taken during the Obama administration. Those weren't even new pictures. They conned y'all, man. They conned y'all. But they telling you right here what they was gonna do the entire fucking time.
It's what gives him the ability to lock up people at our borders. We need to continue to have border security, and we can do that. But what we can't do is not live our values. I've been down to the border. I have seen the mothers. I have seen the cages of babies. We must be a country that every day lives our values.
I believe that immigrants don't diminish America. They are America.
What Trump is doing through his racism.
Listen to him. Listen to them. Listen to them. Listen to this shit that they saying, bruh.
And his xenophobia is demonizing a group of people.
This the same motherfucker. This the same motherfucker who I remember when I was a child. I remember Bernie Sanders openly criticizing Reagan's amnesty to illegal aliens when I was a child. Yes, I remember. This how long I've been fucking with political shit. I remember. overnight now, they turned on a dime when they realized that this would be the only way they could stay in power, that mass immigration was going to be the only lever they had to pull to stay in power.
And as president, I will end that demonization. If a mother and a child walk thousands of miles on a dangerous path,
we call that child abuse and child neglect. I'm sorry. Let's call this shit what it is. They be trying to make it seem like it's so noble. I don't give a fuck what type of job you think you can get. If you have a school-age child and are willing to carry them on your motherfucking back, wading in a river in the Isthmus of Panama, you are a child abuser and you are committing child neglect. It's leeches and piranhas and all anaconda snakes, and you want to drag your child through that perilous ass fucking danger to get a better job. You don't give a fuck about the child. I'm sorry. You don't. You don't care about that child.
in my view, they are not criminals. They are people fleeing violence. And I think the main thing that we've got to do, among many others, and Beto made this point, we've got to ask ourselves, why are people walking 2,000 miles to a strange country where they don't know the language?
They are walking 2,000 miles to a strange country because y'all have seduced them with this dream of materialism. That's why. They are walking 2,000 miles to a strange country because a lot of these women know that they're feminists and run around being a hoe and all of that shit. They can't do that in their country. They'll get themselves killed. So they say, hey, I'm going to go to America because I know damn well that I can't keep no roster of different white men fucking them and shit and getting their money out of them, but then laid up with a nigga. I can't do that in my country. You know who really care about their kids? You know who really care about their kids? I'm gonna give you an example of somebody that really care about their kids. At one of the warehouses that I did maintenance at, I met a woman there who would come and work in their warehouse. She had 2 jobs. I remember one time I caught her in the lunchroom, and she was laid out in the chair, slob coming out of her goddamn mouth. And I almost said her name. I tapped out like, "Hey man, you finna get rolled up, man. You better get up." And she go, oh man, me didn't even know that the break was over. And I'm like, yeah, it's been over. You better get up out of here. And I had to wake up like that a couple of times. And so she called me one day in the break room, and she like, "Thanks for always giving me your wake up call." And I'm like, I don't want to worry about it. So then I happened to bump into her in Walmart. And I'm like, damn, man, why don't you go home and go to sleep? You always like you tired. I was just fucking with her. Why don't you go home and go to sleep? You always look tired. And so then she broke down and started crying. I'm like, whoa, you okay? Why you crying? And so she confessed to me that she was here in Jamaica overstaying the fucking visa because her husband got killed by the police. She was fine as a motherfucker. Her husband had got killed by the police, and she had 4 kids. She had been with this man since she was like fucking 14 years old. No underage shit. They was that old together. You know what I'm saying? And so her cousin sponsored her to come here and strip. And so she's stripping and working in the warehouse, and she was sending basically all of that money back to her kids. The kids were living with her mother. That's somebody that care about their kids. Not nobody that drag they fucking kids through a malarial swamp. You don't care about your kids if you do that. You don't. You don't. But this is a breathtaking fucking level of hypocrisy right here. This is the same motherfucker. This is the same motherfucker who, for a decade, was talking shit about Ronald Reagan's immigration policies. They wanted all immigration cut off because they saw that as a way to defund the Republican Party. Let's go.
So what we will do the first week we are in the White House is bring the entire hemisphere together to talk about how we rebuild Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador so people do not have to flee their own.
Why do we have to do that? Why? Wait a minute. Now, see, they was telling y'all what they was gonna do. They was telling y'all what they was gonna do. They was telling y'all right there. They not only are they participating in the game of one-upsmanship to see who can give more to illegal aliens, but then they even compounded by saying, you know what, we'll rebuild their damn country too. What about America? What about Ohio? What about Joliet, Illinois? We gonna rebuild that?
Countries.
Thank you, Senator.
The biggest problem right now that we have with immigration, it's Donald Trump. He's using immigration to not only rip apart families, but rip apart this country. We can actually get to the point where we have both safe borders, where we have a path to citizenship, where we have opportunities for dreamers.
To repeal Section 1325 of the Immigration and Nationality Act. That is the law that this president, this administration is using to incarcerate migrant parents and then physically separate them from their children. My immigration plan would also make sure that we put undocumented.
What is all this whining about physically separating them from their children? What about all of the what about all of the black men that got exonerated for their crimes, and then y'all have to turn around and bankrupt the governments of these states by paying out these $1 million settlements? What about them being physically separated from their families? I don't get this. Brother Zeke, thanks for the cash out. Don't let that brother be alone. Yeah, what about rebuilding Gary, Indiana? Oh my God, yeah, East St. Louis. And shit, and Detroit. What about rebuilding that shit? Why do we have to rebuild Guatemala and Honduras? You ain't got to rebuild them shits. Them shits ain't never been built up. Well, what are you rebuilding?
Immigrants who haven't committed a serious crime on a pathway to citizenship, that we do a 21st century Marshall Plan with Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala, so that we can get to the root of this challenge, so people can find safety and opportunity at home instead of having to come to the United States. That's how we can be smarter, more effective, and more humane when it comes to immigration policy.
Thank you, sir.
Private detention facility being paid for.
They was telling y'all, bruh. They was telling you. They was telling you. Do y'all realize that at the same time they was talking all of this bleeding heart shit that you just the year before you had a news story about school children in Baltimore? Well, no, a couple of years before, like in 2017, 2018, you had a news story about black school children in Baltimore that had to wear coats because the school district couldn't afford any more heat and oil in the winter. But they talking about rebuilding El Salvador and Guatemala and Honduras. This is complete lunacy, bro. Complete lunacy. Science got rights. Every other group specifically mentioned except black men, unless it's when a black man gets deleted in one of these police shootings. Yep, and then they only do it to facilitate more political power.
By your taxpayer dollars. A private detention facility that currently houses 2,700 children. And By the way, there were members of us, Julian was there, members of Congress. They would not let us enter the place, members of the United States Congress. So I walked down the road, I climbed a ladder, and I looked over the fence. And I'm going to tell you what I saw. I saw children lined up single file based on gender, being walked into barracks. The policies of this administration have been facilitated by laws on the book that allow them to be incarcerated as though they've committed crimes. These children have not committed crimes and should be not treated like criminals.
Senator Bennett,
There's not a single person on this stage who, if we were president, would ever separate a child from their parents at the border. And that is what this administration has done in the American people's name. They have turned our border into a symbol of nativist hostility. The symbol of this country before Donald Trump was president was the Statue of Liberty. That should be the symbol of the United States of America.
When I was at the Texas border, I visited with women who had fled violence. A woman from El Salvador owned a small business. Gangs came to her and said, if you don't give us all your money, we're going to kill your family. That's why.
That does not qualify you for asylum. Any just generic internal security problem in your country is not a legal reason for asylum. Because you live in a bad neighborhood, because you poor, is not a reason to get asylum in the United States. Domestic violence is not a reason for asylum. That's not a reason for asylum. I'm sorry.
She fled. Another woman was raped. That's why she fled. So this is who we're talking about. And
being SA'd, again, that's not a reason for asylum. Asylum is when you are the target of a genocide or any genocidal violence based off of bias. And that means religion, ethnicity, race, or political affiliation. That is what qualifies you for asylum. That exactly, science guy. Exactly. If that's the motherfucking case, science guy, you right. Science guy writes, that's like saying because someone got deleted in Japan, they should have sanctioned in the US. If that's the case, every motherfucker from the east side, every motherfucker from Inglewood, every motherfucker from certain parts of the west side, they should be able to just walk into Canada and say, I need asylum. And then show them the crime statistics from their neighborhood. Show them videos of homicide pulling up with their ties and shit on in their neighborhood every day. Trying to interview motherfuckers, trying to get them to snitch. If that's the case, if the criteria is that goddamn relaxed, shit.
they're not criminals.
You won't need these awful detention facilities that I've been to, seeing children sleeping on pavement, people being put in cages, nursing mothers, small children. This is not necessary. We have seen, using the civil system, piloted programs that have 100% compliance with the civil courts, where people are evaluated. If they have no justifiable reason to be here, they are returned. If they are, like the people I met in Juarez, who were survivors of sexual assault, who we wouldn't even let come and present for asylum. We are butchering our values and making ourselves
Senator Booker,
less
thank
safe.
you very much.
We can no longer allow a white nationalist to be in the White House, number one. And number two, we have to make America what it's always been, a place of refuge. We got to boost the number of people we accept. I'm proud of you.
No, America is not a place of refuge. Where did you get that shit from? The only place of refuge on this goddamn earth is the goddamn cemetery. Ain't no, America is not a place of refuge, bro. But they was telling y'all what they was gonna do.
first governor saying, send us your Syrian refugees. I'm proud to have been the first governor to stand up against Donald Trump's Muslim ban.
There's 11 million people here, and everyone in theory has broken the law, but they're part of our communities now. They're part of our economy. They're our neighbors. Why are we even discussing on one level whether it's a civil penalty or a criminal penalty when it's an American reality? And what we need is comprehensive immigration reform once and for all to fix it.
We need to reform this whole immigration system and begin to be the country that says everyone has worth and dignity, and this should be a country that honors for everyone. Don't let the Republicans divide this party against itself.
What made you spit your drink on the dash? The only refuge is the grave shit. Oh yeah, yeah. That's the only place you go find refuge in this motherfucker, nigga. Shit. The fuck? How you go task a specific country and all the motherfucking citizens there with hosting everybody else because of their security problems? Shit. I was just telling the female the other day, shit, I seen 3 dead bodies on the street before I even made the age of 10. Where the fuck do I get asylum at? The fuck up out of here, man. The fuck up out of here with this goofy ass shit. A place of refuge. But these Democrats was telling y'all what they was gonna do. But don't y'all think it's interesting? Don't y'all think it's interesting? Wait a minute. You know what? Let's pull up some more video. Let's not stop there. Let's pull up some more video. Watch this. I want y'all to see the hypocrisy in HD. Assuming that this shit ain't scrubbed. I know I type slow. I'm sorry. It look like they don't scrub that shit. Because Bernie Sanders been in the office a long time. Oh, I found one. I found one. Now y'all see all that. Watch this. I thought they would have scrubbed this shit off the internet right here. Y'all see that? Sanders immigration bill threatens American workers 12 years ago.
We looked for guidance from a man who's been both a strong supporter and vocal critic of the bill, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. I've been warned you don't like to answer the will it pass question.
I don't like speculation, I know.
So I'll do it at my own peril. The Senate bill, do you see it having a chance to become law, or where do we stand with the future of immigration?
Well, I'm not going to speculate on what happens, but what I will say is that within the Senate bill, there's some very important provisions. I think we have got to provide a path towards citizenship for 11 million undocumented people in this country. They cannot continue to live in the shadows. A DREAM Act is something extremely important. I think the bill provides some good solutions to the crisis in farm workers, undocumented farm workers who are being exploited ruthlessly in this country right now. So
now this is him taking a moderate approach to it.
Those are steps forward. I'll tell you what my concern is the provisions dealing with the guest worker programs. Real unemployment in America
Let's find something older. Let's find
right
something
now.
older. I'm looking for something from the 80s. Let's say 10 years ago, 10 years ago, 11 years ago, 1 year ago. Chill writes selective definition of what a criminal is. They say undocumented immigrant instead of what it is, illegal immigrants. It's diabolical, the mind tricks they use with wordplay. Yeah. People are not illegal. Yeah, they are. Because we as American citizens, we don't get to pick which laws that we want to follow. Thank you.
Rather than making them or talking about putting up a fence, why don't we work out some recognition of our mutual problems, make it possible for them to come here legally with a work permit, and then while they're working and earning here, they pay taxes here. And when they want to go back, they can go back and they can cross and open the border both ways.
Open borders?
Open borders.
That's a Koch brothers proposal. The
Really?
idea, of course, bring in all kinds of people who work for $2 or $3 an hour. That would be great for them. I don't believe in that. Hundreds of thousands of entry-level workers to work in kitchens, waiters, waitresses, lifeguards, ski resort workers. Is it really true that we can't find American workers to do those jobs?
Remember, Bernie Sanders is speaking from a perspective of when, before times changed, when these types of jobs can actually, people was actually funding families off of these type of jobs. People that have fast food jobs are actually paying their mortgage off of them shits. But I mean, it just sounds crazy to hear somebody in a modern economy think that arc can still continue.
Frankly, I don't believe it. You know what youth unemployment in the United States of America today? If you're white, a white kid, high school graduate, 33%, a Hispanic, 36%, African-American, 51%. You think we should open the borders and bring in a lot of low-wage workers? When you go to inner cities, you have 30, 40% unemployment. Do we really need hundreds of thousands of workers, entry-level workers from around the country coming in competing against these kids? I think not.
I guess philosophically the question is, how do you weight it? How do you think about what the foreign aid budget would be? How do you think about poverty abroad?
And I'll tell you why. Well, first of all, again, what you do that is understand there's been a huge redistribution of wealth in the last 30 years from the middle class to the top 1/10 of 1%. Now, the other thing that you understand globally is you have horrendous imbalance in terms of wealth in the world. As I mentioned earlier, the top 1% will own more than the bottom 99% in a year or so. That's absurd. And that takes you to programs like the IMF and so forth and so on. But I think what we need to be doing as a global economy is making sure that people in poor countries have decent paying jobs, have education, have health care, have nutrition for their people. That is a moral responsibility. But you don't do that, as some would suggest, by lowering the standard of American workers, which has already gone down very significantly.
So you heard what he said.
Okay. Well,
heard what he said. Let's find another oldie but goodie if we can. I'm looking for one of them old cloudy ass videos from the 80s. That's what I'm looking for. All this new shit. I guess they must have scrubbed that shit. Yeah. Yeah, they must have scrubbed that shit. We'll look a little bit longer. Hold on. What? Wait a minute. Wait a minute.
I continue to believe that the best way to solve this problem is by working together to pass that kind of common sense law. But until that happens, there are actions I have the legal authority to take as president.
Listen.
The same kinds of actions taken by Democratic and Republican presidents before me that will help make our immigration system more fair and more just. Tonight, I'm announcing those actions. First, we'll build on our progress at the border with additional resources for our law enforcement personnel so that they can stem the flow of illegal crossings and speed the return of those who do cross over. Second, I'll make it easier and faster for high-skilled immigrants, graduates, and entrepreneurs to stay and contribute to our economy, as so many business leaders have proposed. Third, we'll take steps to deal responsibly with the millions of undocumented immigrants who already live in our country. I want to say more about this third issue because it generates the most passion and controversy. Even as we are a nation of immigrants, we're also a nation of laws. Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws.
Yep.
And I believe that they must be held.
Undocumented workers broke our immigration laws. Y'all heard that?
Accountable, especially those who may be dangerous. That's why over the past 6 years, deportations of criminals are up 80%. And that's why we're going to keep focusing enforcement resources on actual threats to our security. Felons, not families. Criminals, not children. Gang members, not a mom who's working hard to provide for her kids. We'll prioritize, just like law enforcement does every day. But even as we focus on deporting criminals, the fact is millions of immigrants in every state, of every race and nationality, still live here illegally. And let's be honest, tracking down, rounding up, and deporting millions of people isn't realistic. Anyone who suggests otherwise isn't being straight with you. It's also not who we are as Americans. After all, most of these immigrants have been here a long time. They work hard, often in...
And that's another thing that the media is now telling y'all. The overriding majority of these people that they are deporting had deportation orders that was handed down during the Obama administration, but they just haven't caught them yet. Did y'all hear me? The majority of these people that they looking for, a link to it in the chat. Yeah. The majority, I'm going to say this again. The majority of these people that they looking for right now been had deportation orders on them. Since the Obama administration and before. That's the part that news ain't talking about. There you go. There's the link in the chat. Yeah. It's crazy how motherfuckers turn on a dime and not even I never seen a political party do a complete 180 on policy in such a short time. Usually it's a very gradual and deliberate process, but just bam, 180 in a few years.
Tough, low-paying jobs. They support their families. They worship at our churches. Many of their kids are American-born or spent most of their lives here. And their hopes, dreams, and patriotism are just like ours. As my predecessor, President Bush, once put it, they are a part of American life.
And once again, breathtaking fucking hypocrisy. Breathtaking hypocrisy to just for a political party to just completely fucking reverse their whole stance on such a large major issue in just a few years. This demonstrates to you how corrupt and disingenuous the Democratic Party is, if nothing else. For anybody that might see this replay, even if you're a lifelong Democrat, you don't find this just a little bit odd, do you? Finna get up out of here, man. It's been a Black Pill PSA. You see. Oh, Mr. White, thanks for the cash out. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so if Kamala Harris is going to run again, she's probably going to run with these same bullshit ass policies, going to double down on, triple down on them. And even her own father, who's a Marxist, says that this is bad for Black people. Now that ought to ring a lot of alarm bells if even a communist is saying that this shit is bad for Black people. A card-carrying communist is saying that it's bad for Black people. And another card-carrying communist, Bernie Sanders, used to say it was bad for all Americans. But this is the policy that she's going to run on. Crazy indeed. It's been a Black